Hello, and welcome to this episode of Lights Out, your virtual campfire. I'm your hostess with the mostest ghosties, Sylvia Shults. So, you think your house might be haunted. What do you do? Let's find out. Grab your salt and sage and let's go lights out. If you've got an entity in your house, you might be okay with it being there. It might be a loved one who's passed on. You might derive comfort from knowing your beloved grandfather is still watching over your family. But what if it's not your relative? What if it's someone else's great Uncle Jack who's still hanging around your house? To put it another way, who you gonna call? I spoke with Janine at a convention and discovered that she is an expert on cleansings. She gave me some quiet but valuable advice on the subject. Okay, so you've just described to me that you do cleansings. Do you do cleansings of people or houses or buildings?
People and locations.
Okay. So first of all, how would somebody come to the realization that they needed something like this? How would somebody seek you out? Why would somebody seek you out?
Well, most of the time they realize that something's going on, and they usually relate it to a haunting. They're hearing noises, they're feeling strange. They think things are happening in the house, but yet they'll talk about how it follows them instead of necessarily being associated with just at their house or just at a certain location. So that gives us a clue that it's more related to the person than the location. Although obviously there are locations that are typically haunted, we would call them too, but perhaps from the darker side of things. And so that's usually what I try to differentiate. Is it something that needs to be cleared, or is it something that's benign and can just go about its business?
Okay. That's a good distinction. So how do you make that distinction?
By figuring out what it is.
Okay, gotcha. All right, that's fair enough.
Right, so if it's just sort of your ex-human spirit who just is hanging around for whatever reason, and we think there's a multitude of reasons that people hang around, and they're not causing trouble, they're not trying to harm people, they're not trying to do anything malignant, then there's no reason to force them to go somewhere else, right?
I agree.
So as part of the investigative group, then we can just say, it appears to be a harmless spirit, and you can choose to live with it or ignore it or whatever they need to do.
Okay. Now, how many people, when you tell them this, say, well, okay, that's all right, or how many people say, all right, no, I want it gone, no matter what?
A lot of people are just comfortable knowing it's not something bad, because that's where everybody goes, right? They've seen the horror movies, they've seen Amityville, The Exorcist, and the immediate thing is they hear a bump in the night and, oh my God, it's, a demon coming to possess me. Mm-hmm. And so usually once you can differentiate that, oh no, it's your house settling, oh no, it's just Grandma Susie, coming to visit.
Okay.
They calm down, and then it's no big deal.
Okay.
Or whatever it happens to be. So it's only occasionally that we'll get into the darker stuff.
Okay. So talking about darker stuff, when you've made that determination of, okay, this thing needs to be kicked out, how would you go about doing that?
So that's the interesting thing, because most of the time you'll see on the TV shows, that we have to go in there with priests and holy water and all this stuff. And the truth is, you really don't. If you have a person who has the right abilities, they can go in and either negotiate with whatever the thing is to get it to leave and go somewhere else, or you can simply just banish it. And it's all on an energetic level.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't, there's no show to it.
Right.
Actually.
Okay.
So it's more going into a meditative state to get on the right plane that these things are on, that they exist on.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay, so it's just like a psychic who has to, we call it raise their vibration,
Sure.
to be able to talk to the person on the other side. It's raising or lowering your vibration to where these things are to be able to communicate with them.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does. Well,
Okay.
it does to me.
Okay. So
all right, cool.
It's really anticlimactic most of the time.
But it's important to know.
It's very important to the people that you're serving. So
Sure.
if somebody has an attachment, and when people have an attachment, that thing, whatever it may be, is using their life force energy to survive.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So, right, we know, or we think in the paranormal world, that these spirits need some sort of energy source, and we emit energy, or they're pulling energy from electrical leaky systems, or water churning, or, whatever.
Yeah.
But when they attach, they're essentially feeding off the person. And so the person usually does have some physical effects, even if it's just unexplainable fatigue.
Sure, yeah.
And so they typically feel almost an immediate difference when the entity is removed.
Oh, man. That must be a big relief.
For people who have experienced it, it is. It's there's a recovery time, but it's an immediate change back to, I know I'm myself again.
I was just going to use that very same phrase. All right. Very cool. Thank you very much. Is there anything you wanted to add?
No.
All right. Okay, cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Janine was speaking of one of the best ways to clear your home of an unwelcome spirit. Just tell it to clear off. This actually does work. Be civil about it. Don't be a jerk. But remember that you, as a living person, have the upper hand in this plane of existence. Other techniques include smudging with sage smoke. This banishes negative energy from your home, not necessarily ghosts, but sometimes the principle is the same. You can use smudging sticks made of sage and sweetgrass, or just use dried sage from the pantry tied into a bundle. Light the bundle and let it burn for a few moments, then blow it out gently and so it smolders. You want that smoke. Have a natural container, like a shell, handy to catch any ash that falls. Go through the whole house, waving the smoke into every corner and cranny. Another technique is to burn a new white candle, symbolizing purity, in every room of the house. Light each candle and carry it around its room, while asking the spirit or negative entity to leave. As a last resort, you can use rice and salt. First, pour white rice in an unbroken line around your house, as close to the foundation as possible. This is to lure the spirit out of your home. It tries to count the grains of rice, but since the rice is in a circle, it will count basically forever. After a couple of days, time enough for the ghost to come outside, pour an unbroken line of salt around the house, just like you poured the rice. The salt will block the entity from re-entering your home. I hope you've enjoyed this spring cleaning episode of Lights Out. Remember to check out Podcast Central on Facebook for the best in paranormal and supernatural podcasts. Please join us next time when my guest will be Nick Sarlo, lead investigator for Shadow Hunters. We'll be enjoying a conversation with a true professional next time we go Lights Out.